In 1950, the average American family prayed together 3 times a day. Today, most families don't do it even once a week. Number 1 on this list isn't even a prayer. It's the thing that made the other 14 work. I went through devotion manuals from the 1950s and more than 200 first-hand accounts. These habits were not Sunday religion. They were the glue that held entire families together. And science now confirms what your grandmother knew. Number 8 has an exact date of death, 1966. And number 4 was so private that most children never knew their father did it every morning. You think these habits disappeared because America lost its faith. But the faith barely changed. What disappeared was something else. And nobody saw it leave. Number 15. The holy water font by the door. In 1950, in millions of Catholic homes, nobody left the house without stopping for 3 seconds. Next to the front door hung a small porcelain font. The father, heading to work. The children, heading to school. Each one dipped 2 fingers, made the sign of the cross on their forehead, and stepped out. Every departure. And the water came from the Easter Vigil, blessed once a year. But then, America moved to the suburbs, and the font did not make the trip. Nobody decided to abandon the habit. The new wall simply never got the nail. So in one generation, a gesture a child performed thousands of times vanished without a funeral. Psychologists now call it a transition ritual, a pause that told a child you leave protected. Bringing it back costs less than $10. But this gesture only opened the day. The next habit had a second half almost nobody remembers. Number 14, the double blessing of the table. You remember grace before meals. What almost nobody remembers is that the prayer did not end there. There was a second blessing after the meal, and dinner was not over until it was said, "We give you thanks, Almighty God, for these and all your blessings." Nobody touched a fork before grace. Nobody left their chair until thanks were given again. 3 meals, 6 blessings. The table opened and closed like a door. And inside it, the family was whole. But in 1954 came the television dinner, designed to be eaten in front of the television. So the prayer lost its stage, not because anyone stopped believing, but because the family stopped sitting in a circle. Children who eat at the table with their parents do better in life. The blessing was the switch. But the table closed the family's day, not the child's. That happened upstairs, with a prayer you think you know, except you only know half of it. Number 13, the prayer you think you know. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Those words live in your memory, but that's only half. The full version continued. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Bless the bed that I lie on. 4 corners to my bed. 4 angels round my head. 4 angels. 1 watching all the night. 1 resting on the chest. For a child afraid of the dark, his bed stood guarded on all 4 sides. Sleep had guardians with names. It was learned from the mother's voice, passed down for 2 centuries. But one line began to sound too harsh. If I should die before I wake. So families softened it, then shortened it, and the 4 angels were left out. The skeleton survives without the part that embraced. Bring back the gentle ending. May angels watch me through the night and wake me with the morning light. But there was another book in that house, conquered page by page, over a year. And the one who opened it was not the mother. Number 12. The Bible they read cover to cover. It was the father, the man who maybe did not talk much, who came home tired from the factory or the field, had a duty nobody questioned. The house had to hear the Bible every day, a short passage in the morning or at night, and many families set a goal that sounds impossible today: the complete Bible, Genesis to Revelation, in 1 year. But the American evening changed owners. Television claimed the exact hour that book used to open. So the Bible moved from the table to the shelf. And here is something worth saying slowly. Those fathers were not theologians, but a child who watched the strongest man he knew bow his head before something greater learned. Without words, the hardest lesson there is: humility. That has not been replaced. It has simply stopped being done. 5 verses before bed, 7 days straight. Consistency was the secret. But once a year, the house itself received the writing in chalk above the door. And number 11 will feel like another century. Number 11, the letters on the door. Walk through a Catholic neighborhood in January of 1950 and you saw it above the doors. White chalk. 19. A cross. CMB. 50. To a stranger, a code. To that family, a sentence. Christus mansionem benedicat. May Christ bless this house. It happened on January 6th, the Feast of the Three Kings. The chalk was blessed at Mass. The doorframe marked while the family prayed. Then every room sprinkled with holy water. The door became a declaration. A family, lives here under protection. And the chalk was never erased. It wore away on its own, fainter every month. But as the mark faded from the wood, the old folks said it was sinking into the heart. The modern door became a formality between the car and the couch. So the threshold lost its guardian. The easiest one to bring back, chalk on January 6th and one short prayer. That blessed the house once a year. The next habit sanctified the entire day. And you didn't need to be a monk. Number 10, the holy hours. In a kitchen, we assume the liturgy of the hours belongs to monasteries. Yet in 1950, there were American kitchens that sounded like a convent. The family prayed at fixed hours, lauds at dawn, vespers after supper, compline before bed, the same structure as the monks, hymn, psalms, the Lord's Prayer, and at the end, Lord, now you let your servant go in peace. The day was not interrupted by prayer. The day was built on it. But this practice demanded what modern life tolerates least: continuity. Split schedules and screens made the rhythm impossible. So the prayer of the hours retreated to the convents, and we grew up believing it had always lived there. The way back is compline, 10 minutes before bed. These hours were kept by a book. The next habit was kept by a sound that crossed the entire town. And when it rang, America stopped. Number 9, the bell that stopped the country. 6 in the morning, noon, 6 in the evening. 3 times a day, the church bells crossed the air, and people stopped where they stood. The farmer in his furrow, the mother with her hands in the dough. 60 seconds of stillness, synchronized by a sound older than the country. It was the Angelus, with 13th century roots. 3 gospel verses, 3 Hail Marys. Millet's famous painting, The Angelus, which shows 2 farm workers bowed in a field at a distant bell, wasn't art. It was the daily life of millions, including the America of 1950. But the town became a suburb. The suburb became a highway, and the bell could no longer be heard. So a shared clock of the soul disappeared. 3 pauses a day that the rich man and the hired hand kept together. 3 alarms, 60 seconds. You carry the bell now. But one day of the week needed no sound at all. You could see it on the dinner plate. And it has an exact date of death, 1966. Number 8. The Friday you could see on the plate. In 1950, you did not have to ask a family about their faith. You looked at their table on a Friday. No meat? You knew. Every Catholic from age 7 abstained from meat every Friday of the year. All 52. A faith you practiced with your fork. Parishes invented the Friday fish fry. In 1962, Lou Groen, who owned a McDonald's in a Catholic neighborhood of Cincinnati, watched his register sit empty every Friday. So he invented a fish sandwich to survive. The Filet-O-Fish, still on the menu, all over the planet. But then came November of 1966, when the bishops lifted the obligation outside of Lent, trusting each Catholic to choose his own sacrifice. When the rule disappeared, the practice disappeared. And here is what this habit teaches. A shared discipline binds people more than a shared opinion. That small weekly sacrifice told every child, we belong to something. And belonging costs something. That's what fed Friday, not the fish. Bring it back with one fixed day, one small sacrifice. The whole family at once. The next habit turned a whole month into celebration, with flowers and fire. Number 7. The month that came indoors with flowers. Every 1st of May, in millions of homes, a small sacred move-in took place. A table cleared, a white or blue cloth, an image of Mary. Around her, spring flowers, rosaries, a candle. The children built it themselves. That was half the secret. And every night of the month, the family gathered there. A decade of the rosary, sometimes a hymn sung low. The candle made the shadows. The flowers made the smell. Ask anyone who grew up with this. They will not recite the prayers. They will describe the smell. Flowers and wax. May smelled like that. But in the 70s, the home's rituals fell off the calendar. The devotion moved to the parish. An hour, not a month. So May lost its lady. All you need is a shelf, an image, a candle, flowers. 1 decade a night. Let the children build it. But one sacred image was never put away. It hung over the most vulnerable place in the house, and mining families trusted it with more than sleep. Number 6. The crucifix above the bed. In the bedroom of 1950, there was a rule nobody wrote down. The crucifix went directly above the headboard. The last thing you saw at night, the first thing in the morning. Not decoration. Consecration of the place where the family was most vulnerable. Dark wood or plain metal. For a child, it was the last face he saw before closing his eyes. In the dark, you are not alone. And when a miner went down into the pit, he took the crucifix off the wall, kissed it, and laid it on his pillow until he came back. The empty bed stayed protected, a promise to return. But the bedroom changed owners. Posters, then the television, then the screen that sleeps 6 inches from your head. So the last image of the day no longer protects. It stimulates, alarms, and sells. Bringing it back costs a single nail. That wall used to say, "Here is where the noise of the world ends." But one morning a year, one child woke up as the star of the house, and it was not his birthday. Number 5. The day your name was a holiday. Imagine coming down to breakfast and the table is decorated. A small present by your plate. No chores today. The family sings to you. And it's not your birthday. It's your saint's day. In 1950, every Catholic child had 2 holidays. One for his age, one for his name. Because names came from the calendar of saints. Every child carried the name of a real person who had lived, struggled, and won. On his name day, the family told him that story. A boy named Joseph wasn't carrying a word. He was carrying a companion. But names change their source, chosen for sound, for fashion, for movie characters. So the Saint's Day was left with no saint, and the birthday claimed all of childhood. This celebration didn't honor what the child was. It honored what he could become. A 5-minute search brings it back. The saint, the date, a dinner, a story. The name day was public. The next habit was so quiet that most children never knew their father did it every single day. Number 4, the candles that prayed for you. This happened before you existed in the day. In the early morning, while the house slept, the father came down to a corner with a small table and a row of votive candles. Each one wore a handwritten label, one name per child. He lit them one by one, with each flame a name spoken under his breath, and behind the name, an intention. This one's health, that one's exam, the oldest one's temper, a prayer with a last name, and a bedroom. Then he went up to shave. The candles stayed burning, and when a child woke and passed the corner, he saw his candle lit and understood without explanation. Dad already prayed for me today. A father's love, almost never spoken in that generation, became visible in a flame. That's why so many children never knew. They saw the candles 1,000 mornings, but never the man lighting them in the dark. One label per child or grandchild, 5 minutes before they wake. Don't tell them. Let them discover it. But there was a gesture the father made over them, directly, every time one walked out the door. Number 3, the thumb on the forehead. Remember the font from number 15? This was its twin, except the child didn't perform it. He received it. Before school, before play, the father or mother stopped, looked at him, and traced a cross on his forehead. God bless you, and bring you back safe. 5 seconds. Every departure. An entire childhood. And when the child felt scared or alone, he touched his forehead and remembered there was a mark there that couldn't be seen, but couldn't be erased. But modern departures became races against the clock. So the child of today leaves home without anyone touching him. His protection delegated to a phone in his pocket. A cross with the thumb. One sentence. Every departure. That's how it survived 500 years, until it stopped. This took 5 seconds. The next habit took 15 minutes a night, and an Irish priest convinced millions of Americans it could save the family. You've heard his slogan your whole life. You don't know where it came from. Number 2, the 15 minutes that closed the day. When supper ended and the house went quiet, the Catholic family of 1950 did not scatter. It gathered by the fire or around the kitchen table in the name of the Father, and the children answered from memory with a cadence you do not learn, you inherit. 15 minutes, the voices alternating, the fire, the rosary beads softly clicking. And in 1947, this habit found an ally, the radio. An Irish priest named Patrick Peyton launched Family Theater of the Air. Hollywood stars prayed the rosary on the airwaves, and millions of families prayed along. And one sentence of his reached all the way to you. The family that prays together stays together. You have heard it 1,000 times. This is where it came from. But the machine that replaced that radio did not ask for responses, only silence. Television claimed the rosary's exact hour, and the circle broke. So the last voice the family heard together stopped being their own. 1 decade, 2 minutes, with the screens off, brings it back. And yet, the rosary is not number one. Because underneath all 14 habits was something that was not a prayer at all. It was what your great-grandfather did with his body before the first word. When it disappeared, everything else lost its ground. Number one, and it is not a prayer. It is a posture. Every morning and every night, the family of 1950 knelt down together. The father, the man who ran that house, put his knees on the same floor as his 5-year-old son. The mother beside him, everyone at the same height, everyone facing the same thing. Think about that, and you'll understand why the other 14 worked. The holy water, the candles, the rosary by the fire, all of them grew out of this posture. Kneeling was the silent declaration that held the house up. In this family, nobody is the biggest. A child who watched his father on his knees needed no sermons about humility. He had it in front of him, twice a day, on his own living room floor. The chairs, the schedules, and the screens stood us up, then sat us down, each in our own room, each with our own glowing light. So we didn't lose the faith. We lost the posture. And without the posture, the habits had no ground to stand on. And they left, one by one, all 15. Not the prayer. The family on its knees. The one moment when everyone was equal, before something greater than them all. Your family knew these habits. Maybe not all 15, but someone in your family tree dipped 2 fingers in that font, received that cross on the forehead, saw their candle burning one morning. That knowledge did not die. It just went quiet. So tonight, pick one, just one. Then tell me in the comments which one you are bringing back and which one you remember from your own childhood. Because every memory you write down there is exactly what this video is trying to save, how an American house used to pray.